Hi everyone, Jessica here from Paper Ink Stamp and welcome back to my channel. So today's video we're going to be creating another page in our new magazine journal. So I did ask you when we created our first page what you wanted to see next, and most of you said you wanted to see this Fabulous Foliage. So we're going to be using the stencil and stamp set to create the next page in our journal. So this was the first one we created with this month's die cutting essentials. So we're going to have this one from Simply Cards and Papercraft, and then we do have our new Summer Escape stamp set from the Creative Stamping magazine we'll be able to do for our third page. But now for this one, I was originally thinking about just using the stencil, doing a little bit of ink blending on our background and then using the stamps. The only sort of issue I thought was because our page is quite big just in comparison to the size of our stamp. So this here is a bottle. I was going to kind of fill this up and just create like a really nice full kind of bouquet of flowers with the images. But just the size of the bottle in comparison to the page, I thought it would look a little lost. There wouldn't really be enough going on. So what I'm going to be doing instead is I've got a piece of this pistachio green cardstock, and I'm actually going to be ink blending onto our green card. I'm actually going to cut out these leaves, so I'm probably going to do quite a few of them, just some really simple ink blending on here as well, and then we're going to cut them out, and then that's just going to give us a whole bunch of leaves that we can create something different and a different look for our page. So let's get started actually creating our leaves to begin with. So I'm just going to hold our stencil down with just a little bit of washi tape. So the reason that I'm ink blending onto the coloured card is because you're going to have all of these gaps in between, so the little veins of the leaves themselves, that is otherwise going to be white, but by ink blending then onto coloured card, those bits are still going to be green. So I'm going to take a little bit of Mowed Lawn in the Distress regular ink, and I'm just going to ink blend this. So because we've got that green again underneath, it doesn't have to be kind of perfect, because obviously it's not going to be showing through any white. So if we've got green that's kind of showing up slightly heavier in some spots, that is going to be perfectly fine. So I'm just going to go into the leaves for the ones that I actually want to cut out. Okay, so there we have some of our leaves. So here you can see that I've cut out all of these leaves, and I have cut out quite a few of the sort of corner ones as well. So we've got ones that have got kind of straight edges that aren't sort of totally perfect, but because we're going to be sort of building these up in some way, we can just hide those kind of bits behind other leaves. So you've got this one here, for example, so that was an edge and it was quite straight, but then, you know, we can still use that and just pop another one on top. So we've got all of our leaves done. So I'm going to pop those to one side just to keep them safe and all together, and what I want to do is create just a little bit of a textured background on the actual page itself. So I've just got a scrap piece of paper here, and this was a sheet of paper that I used just to protect this first page. So I'm going to put that on there just so we don't kind of get anything anywhere that we don't want it to be. I'm going to bring back in my stencil, so just going to leave that just like that. So I'm going to use my Distress Texture Paste. So this is white and the page is sort of a creamy, so you are going to be able to see this, and that's okay. I don't need this to be a perfect background really, but I'm going to kind of come in more on kind of the edges, and again we're just going to kind of create just a little bit of interest for our background. take our bar stencil. So what we do have is sort of a gap here, but you know, we can fill that in then with our leaves, with whatever design we're going to put on here. But again, it's just going to add just a little bit of interest sort of to that background. So I'm really happy with how that looks. So I'm going to let that completely dry. So I'm not going to add any heat or anything to that. I'm just going to let that dry really naturally, because I don't want to kind of warp the page too much. And yeah, then once this is dry, we can get started sort of building up our journal page. So now our background is really lovely and dry, it's gone hard, and you can really see all of that texture. So like I said before, I'm really not that bothered sort of how uneven it is. I really just wanted it in there just for a little bit of, maybe a bit of grungy kind of background, but in still a really nice bright way, because you have got the white and you've got a lot of that kind of green ink that was left over on my stencil. That's kind of mixed in with it, so I do really love that. So we've got our tray here of our leaves. So what I'm going to do is, so it's using then some of the leaves that was from the edge, because they've already got a straight edge on them. So I'm going to put these on the side, and I think I'm just going to create really simply just like 2 bands. That's going to kind of come across the page. So I am just going to cover up this kind of gap here, and I'm just going to mainly kind of pick out some of these bigger leaves. And we've got lots of different kinds of shapes in here as well, which is really great. And we're just going to kind of overlap them. So got that one. So I'm not looking for anything sort of perfect here at all. So we've got something really basic just there. So let's point that one maybe there, and then maybe we could put one of those different shaped ones. Kind of just facing up that way. So we're just creating just like a little base at the moment. Something like that. And then we're going to do the same, just sort of slightly further down. So there, we've kind of just got like 2 bands in there, and then we've got loads of extras if we then want to add sort of extra pieces in between. So I'm just going to take a little bit of liquid glue for this, because this does obviously need to stick onto that texture paste. Okay, so now we've got our leaves stuck down. I'm going to pop this just to one side for the moment, and then we can just let that dry and create some more of our elements to go onto our page. So looking at the stamp set, we've got some flowers in here we're going to use. I'm not sure that we're going to pop the bottle and things on here. I might just keep it as quite a sort of foliage with the leaves, and then maybe just do a bunch of these flowers as well. So I've got 3 colours here. I've got yellow, mustard yellow, pumpkin orange and rose pink. And I'm just going to take any scrap pieces and then if not, I'm just going to cut it down. So I've got my stamp set here, and because this is a textured cardstock, I'm going to be stamping onto the other side, not the highly textured side. So I've got 2 acrylic blocks, so I'm going to use the 2 sort of flower heads here. I'm using the Visfine Onyx Black ink. And I'm just going to stamp directly onto the cardstock. So I'm going to do 3 of each. So I might not end up using all of these, but it's never a bad idea just to have more, just in case you need more. So that's the orange. So now I've got my flowers, I'm just going to go ahead and really easily just trim around these. Okay, so I've got all of my flowers cut out. So the first one I did cut it right up against the edge. But to be honest, I thought I've got so many to do, that's just a little bit too much effort. So in the end, I just gave a little border. So we would normally fussy cut to get a white border, but this time we're not really going to notice because it's all exactly the same colour. So let's bring our journal back. Let's take our blocks off. So the other thing is, this is, if it's not totally adhered yet, you know, when we've finished with our page and creating this project, we're going to close the book anyway. So that's just going to help keep everything sort of flat down. So we've got our flowers. So what I was thinking is I'm just going to kind of place them around all these lovely leaves. Just kind of like so. And I am just kind of bending the petals just a little bit with my fingers, just to get a little bit of dimension. But again, to be honest with you, by the time we've closed the book, you're not really gonna kind of have that dimension because it is gonna just lie flat. So we've got all our really beautiful leaves in here. So maybe we can do that. So let's grab some glue. Okay, so what I am going to add is, so in the stamp set, they have got this butterfly stamp here, but I wanted something just a little bigger because everything is quite small at the moment. So I've picked up this layering of butterflies die. So we've got the base and then we've got that really beautiful outline. So we are going to just die cut a few of these. Again, like I said, just to add that kind of extra detail in there. So I think I might just go for this one. Okay, so for my top die, I'm actually just going to do a little bit of heat embossing. So I've got just a regular piece of cardstock here. I've got my 7 to stamp clear ink pad. I'm just going to apply this ink pad. Oops. So I've just applied the ink pad directly to our cardstock here. And then I've got some gold embossing powder. So just sprinkle that all over. Just like so. So there's the piece we're going to die cut from. So there's other ways of doing this. Of course, you could just use something like mirror card or, you know, gold cardstock. You could die cut this first and then add the embossing powder afterwards, just so you're not sort of using as much embossing powder, but I'm not really that bothered. So we've got that. We're going to add a little bit of tape just to keep that in place while we run it through the die cutting machine. So here is our die cut piece. So there is our embossed, so you can see all that really lovely shine on there. So we've got that really beautiful piece, and then we've just got our basic kind of background piece as well. So there we've got our really beautiful butterfly. So for that I might use, for that I'm going to use my dotty tape pen. So there we have our big butterfly, and that's to say just gonna sort of blend really nicely then, something like that. So the last thing we're going to do is add a sentiment. So again, from the stamp set, so we could go with something like, for you, you're fabulous, or we could do, you're fabulous, it's your day. So let's grab a piece of white cardstock. So I just want to use white just to bring in the detail from our butterfly. So we're again going to take the This Fine Onyx Black ink. We're just going to stamp that. And let's do You're Fabulous. Just like so. So I'm just going to grab my paper trimmer, and I'm just going to trim around these sentiments. Okay, so let's bring back our journal. So we've got our sentiments here. I'm just going to use this small corner rounder just as a little bit more interest to these sentiments. I've literally just trimmed the corners off. So I think the challenge with creating a journal page is actually being able to stretch the stamp set or the products that you've actually got to kind of fill the page up. It was really easy to do with this because we just did multiple die cuts and just created a background with it. But it is always going to be a challenge to, as I said, sort of fill up this page. Okay, so despite what I said about dimension, I am just going to add a little bit here for our butterfly, just so it will sit nicely on top of those flowers. And then I am just going to add some small foam pads just onto our sentiment. Just to kind of help it stand up, again, just away from our flowers. So we're going to pop that one there. So that one is going to go there, and then I think that's going to be it for our page, because we've kind of used all of the main elements of the free gift with this Simply Cards and Papercraft. So let me know in the comment section down below what you think. So we've used the stencil and we've used some of the distressed texture paste, which has mixed in with a little bit of the ink we had left over from our stencil. So we just got some really nice hints of green in there. We then took our stencil and ink blended some Mode Lawn Distress ink onto some pistachio green cardstock, and then we just cut all of those leaves out. I then used the flower stamps. I stamped those onto some coloured cardstock and just cut around those. And then we've just added this lovely layering butterfly on here. So there is a butterfly stamp in the stamp set, but I just wanted something a little bit bigger, so I've used this die from Hunky Dory. And then we've just stamped our sentiments onto some white cardstock and just cut around those and then trimmed the edges. Like I said, the challenge with something like this is going to be stretching again, your supplies, your products, to be able to cover a much bigger page, because the stamps in that are sort of relatively small. You know, it's great for making smaller cards, but then trying to stamp maybe something like the bottle, the sentiment things on much bigger cards, that is kind of where the challenge is a little bit. So this is definitely going to be challenging to see how we can, like I said, stretch those products to fill a bigger page. But let me know in the comment section down below what you think. If you do like this, then please give this video a thumbs up. Our next journal page we're going to be creating is going to be with our creative stamping magazine, and the last one was the summer escapes. So already I'm thinking what we can do to create our next page in our journal. But that's it for today's video. Like I said, if you did enjoy it, give this video a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to my channel already, please do so you don't miss out on any future videos. So that's it for today. Thanks very much for watching, and happy crafting.